There, hey there, hey there, hey, 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 hey. Hi there, hi there, hi there. Sorry, now let's go right on with the story time, shall we? I call this the cursed doll's tale. Ooh, are you ready? Once a human was walking down the road and found by the roadside of a busy, dirty, crime-ridden city a broken human-sized doll who was alive and wearing a long, tattered black dress. And who was missing a leg and had been shot several times and had a cracked face. She crawled at the human and tried her best to be scary, but collapsed in front of him due to weakness. The human, unfazed by this and used to strange events in the city, picked her up and said, "Hey, I'm a doll maker. Are you okay, miss? Let me help you and get you fixed up." The strange doll-like creature then said, "Human, why?" He then said, "Why not?" He then took her down to a small shop by the roadside, which was a toy shop that doubled as a repair shop as well. Hmm. The human replaced her legs with a fresh set and cleaned up her bullet wounds, and patched her up and gave her a new, kind-looking face, and gave her a nice set of clean, well-maintained clothes. The doll-like creature then said, "Human, do you know what I am? My name is Mary San." The human then said, "Nice to meet you, Miss Mary. My name is Joshua. So how do you like it? Are you feeling okay?" Mary Sand didn't know how to respond. She smiled a bit, and while it made her happy, she felt lightheaded and weak after that. Joshua helped her get back up and said, and put her on the repair table and asked, "Miss Mary, what's wrong?" Mary didn't want to say this had been the first time a human had truly been kind to her. Miss Mary then said, "I was abandoned long ago." The human then said, Really? I know a bit about what that's like. My dad abandoned me long ago." Mary then said, "I see. Do you live here alone?" Joshua then said, "I live upstairs. The shop is mostly to sell toys and repair them, which is what my mom taught me." Mary then said, "I was a toy once long ago. I was abandoned shortly after I originally got a crack in my face." Joshua then said, "I'm sorry." Mary then said, "It's not your fault. It was long ago. And they've since passed, but it still hurts, you know." Joshua nodded. The two bonded for a bit, yet as Mary was walking with him in the street, she felt dizzy and wobbly with each step. Though she tried not to show it, she felt something break inside her, and Joshua then said, "What's wrong? Did something snap or break?" "I'm sorry, I'll replace it." Mary then said, "It's not something you can help with." Joshua then said, "Are you sick? What do you need to get better?" Mary collapsed on her knees and blinked a bit and said, "I just need to rest for a bit, that's all." Then a thug came up from around the corner and pulled a gun and said, "You, give me your money." Joshua then said, "No." The thug then said, You don't seem to realize whose territory this is. We, the Los Lobos, rule these streets." Mary quickly got up, feeling a bit of energy, and moved so fast that she grabbed the arm of the man and twisted it hard. The thug felt this hard, cold, solid, doll-like arm on him and was frightened and said, "A monster." Mary turned to the thug and then said, "That's right, I'm a monster, and if you want to live, you'll run away." Her eyes went dark and malevolent energy poured from her. The thug started to cry and beg and broke the grip and ran away in horror. Mary Sand then calmed herself a bit, feeling slightly better. Then Joshua then said, "You saved me." He gave Mary a head pat. She felt a sting of kindness from it and hugged him tightly and said, I am not a monster to you?" Joshua then said, "Not to me." He hugged her. She felt a bit warm and hugged him back and felt happy and smiled a bit with her porcelain smile. Before collapsing in a restaurant, he picked her up and carried her back home. He then picked her up and carried her back home. Joshua examined her figure of why she suddenly collapsed and asked Mary, "Are you okay?" Mary felt warm at his concern and said, "It's nothing, don't worry about it." Joshua then said, "Of course I'm worried. If you're sick, I should help you." Mary Sand then said, "Shall I tell you a story?" Joshua then said, "Sure." Mary then said to him, "Once there was a discarded doll who was thrown in the trash after she got broken due to a child playing too roughly with them. The doll became angry as it lay there in the garbage in a dump, surrounded by filth and rotten decay. So it came alive to get revenge on the child who threw it away. Joshua then said, Did you find the child? Mary then said, I never did. They had died in an accident. They weren't around anymore. Joshua then said, Are you still angry with them after all that? Mary then said, I felt angry at being abandoned, but at hearing the news I was lost, I didn't have much of a purpose. Worse still, I started to feel weak after that. Joshua then asked, Do you know why? Mary then said, Hatred and resentment are what brought me to life, you see. And I must confess, I tried so long to maintain it. I even became feared by some. It worked for a bit, but eventually people stopped being frightened and fought back. Then that's how I got injured. I wasn't angry at it, I deserved it. I just wanted to live. In truth, I became lost again after that, and the resentment and anger started to weaken for a long, long time. Because of that, I became weak and my form started to break down and dissolve. Joshua thought about what she said for the longest time. Mary then said, A monster like me doesn't deserve kindness, not from mortals. So I understand if you no longer want me around anymore. Joshua, however, to her surprise, laughed and said, No way, I am not abandoning you. Mary was confused by this and said, But I can't accept your kindness. Did you not listen to what I said? Joshua then said rather happily, uh, Joshua then said rather happily, Actually, I'm surprised that's all you need. Mary then said rather happy, mm, Mary then said, Mary then said rather frightened and confused, what do you intend to do, human? Joshua then said, Don't worry, I know the perfect and the safest way for you to maintain your hatred and resentment. And in a way that doesn't require you really hurting anyone else either. Mary tilted her head and said, I very much doubt it, but what do you have in mind? Joshua picked her up and put her in a guest room on a bed and turned on the TV to the news. Joshua then said, Now mortals know how to hate and love with equal effort, and the best way to feel hatred, to feel anger, is at the world itself. And what's more hatred and rage-inducing than things meant to manipulate rage and hatred deliberately? The news is the perfect way to feed you. Mary was shocked and confused, but equally amused. He then said, No way that actually works. But as the news went over wars and political divide and conflicts, she could feel the hatred and resentment feed into her, but not in the same way that fear and violence did, or how her abandonment had hurt her so long ago. It just sort of flowed through her. Mary touched her face a bit and could feel old scars healing as it was flowing into her. She was genuinely surprised by this. Mary then said, That silly, foolish human. I can't believe this actually worked. Ever since then, she could feel a pep in her step and could move around quickly and fluidly, like she used to in the past, back before she was even broken or abandoned. Joshua then said, How do you feel? Mary then said, I thank you. I feel great for the first time in a long time. In the end, your kindness saved me. She hugged him tight and he pat her head and she smiled a bit. She didn't mind the kindness anymore, it no longer hurt. In fact, she started to help him sell and repair toys. It felt nice to be loved again, in spite of what she had become long ago. And that is the end of the story. Now, don't be sure to tell me exactly what you think, okay? Now, let me go raid somebody real quick, shall we? Raid Inabin underscore VT. Let's. Oh, whoops, sorry about that. Let's go raid them, shall we? And I thank you for listening, and I hope you had plenty of fun. Remember to fly like that and shine like the moon, for weirder stuff dreams are made of. Bye bye now. Oh wow, I'm sorry about, the camera. I don't think it's quite catching me right. There we go, a little bit like that. Alright, Moonbat Raid. There we go. Goodbye.